Welcome, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, so I want to be conscious of everybody's time, so we'll go ahead and get started. I would like to call this February the 10th, 2026 TPO Technical Committee meeting to order. It does look like we have a quorum. We do have some new faces today, so I would like to do some brief introductions, and we'll start with Mr. Conger.
Hi, Mike Conger, Knoxville TPO staff.
Craig Lipke, also with the TPO staff.
Dallas DeArmond, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Laura Smith, East Tennessee Development District.
James Temple, Sevier County Planning.
Karen Estes, Knox County CAC Transit.
Chico Messer, Blount County.
Daryl Smith, Town of Farragut.
Brian Boone, City of Maryville Engineering and Public Works.
Doug Burton, TPO coordinator.
Jim Snow, Knox County Engineering Public Works.
Chris Halley, City of Knoxville, proxy for Tom Claybo.
Amy Brooks, Knox County Planning.
Dakota Gentry, City of Alcoa.
Blake Sarton, Metro Knoxville Airport Authority.
Catherine Baldwin, Anderson County.
Larry Gamm, City of Clinton.
Roger Flynn, Oak Ridge Public Works.
Clay Mercer, Knoxville Area Transit.
Troy Everett, TDOT.
Danielle Myers, Knoxville Commuter Pool, Tennessee Vans.
Welcome, new members. It's glad to have you. Dallas, do we have anyone that's participating virtually today?
Not so far.
Not so far. Well, good deal. Any amendments to the agenda, Doug? No amendments to the agenda. We will skip the list of commonly used acronyms. Mayor Jacobs likes those, but I think we'll move on from that. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the December 9th, 2025 Technical Committee meeting. Hopefully everyone has a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is the election of officers, and it looks like Mr. Doug will be the presenter here.
Yes, our bylaws state that at the first meeting of the year, which is this one, we are to elect officers. In 2025, we elected Jim Snowden as chair and Tom Claybo as vice chair. Our bylaws set the term as 1 year, but that you can repeat for a second year, so they're both eligible to do one more year. But it is open, the floor is open if anyone else wants to make a different offer of chair or vice chair. It's at the pleasure of the technical committee, what y'all want to do. I guess we would need a motion. You could either take it together or one at a time, whatever is the pleasure of the technical committee.
Motion to nominate the existing slate of officers.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any further discussion?
You guys happy with doing another year?
I'm okay with that, but if someone else is really dying to have this spot, they can. I'll certainly be willing to give it up as well. So, but
And Tom's not here, so I think he's going to have to be fun with it.
well, I do appreciate that, and looks like a motion on the floor and second. So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 4 on our agenda today is the safety performance measures, and it looks like Mr. Conger will be presenting on this one.
Yes, thank you. So this one does require action today to a motion to recommend approval of a resolution to adopt the 2026 safety performance targets. So I have a presentation to go through these. So this is our 9th time doing these annual safety targets under the Federal Highway Performance Management's requirements. TPO is allowed to either support the state targets or establish our own quantifiable targets for any of the 5 measures that I'll talk about here in a second. You may recall, those of you have been here, starting last year, we decided to do our own local safety targets after the previous 7 times always adopting the state's targets. So here's some background on why we went that direction for local targets. The main reason is because we completed our Regional Roadway Safety Action Plan in 2023, and that set out a specific goal that we would reduce fatalities and serious injuries by 2/3 by the year 2045. So that equates mathematically to a 5% reduction from 2023 out to 2045. So now we have some number to hang our hat on as far as what the target would be. And the other thing is we're able to coordinate with Tennessee Highway Safety Office to get data specific to our area. This was not always possible to get the geocoded crashes that we could cut them out of partial counties. It's always reported at county level. And of course, TPO has partial county areas. So with the latitude, longitude information, we can cut those out and get that specific to our TPO boundary that's shown here in this map. This is a heat map from the 2020 to 2025. You can see while they're concentrated, in the core areas, it really does touch the entire TPO region with fatal crashes occurring throughout the entire area. So the state sets theirs first by August 31st, and then we have 180 days to either establish our own or support their targets. These are based on a 5-year average. There's a baseline period. In this case, it's 2020 through 2024 as a baseline. The target is 2022 through 2026. So these are the state targets here, and I've kind of shown there are 5 different areas: number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, serious injuries, serious injury rate, and then number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. The state really does theirs based on a mathematical statistical analysis of the trend lines. They're not trying to set aspirational numbers at all. They're just simply looking at what is the direction of the numbers. And if we, it's really hard to quantify like a specific project's impact on reducing fatalities and serious injuries. So rather than trying to do that, they kind of just project it out and talk about the factors that are involved and what they're seeing causing these crashes and how they can hopefully move the needle. But they're not tying themselves down necessarily to again, aspirational number. So you can see the trends in the state of Tennessee, like any other state that's growing in population and vehicle travel, tends to increase. We have been seeing improvement on the fatality side. So those numbers are actually trending downward, whereas the others are going upward. So in the case of the TPO targets, again, we have real numbers for the baseline, and then the targets starting with 2024 we're declining, but those still trend upward until we kind of get the baseline numbers out of it. So that we're actually in the opposite direction on these numbers versus the state. So these are the 3, or I'll go through 3 of the areas, the trends. First with fatalities, you can see the blue line are the actual numbers back to 2020. 2020 is the lowest. Of course, that was primarily COVID year. Then we trended upward. The orange numbers are the 5% reduction target numbers and what those average out to. The green is the baseline, and the red would be the target. So the target still has actual numbers in it for those, that time period. And that's why the target number is higher than our baseline for this measure. I've thrown 2025 numbers are not finalized yet. There's always a period of time after the year completes. So the good news here is that from 2023, which again was our starting point for our targets reduction, we didn't meet the 2023 target. We were at slightly higher for the actual versus target. But for 2025, the preliminary number is dropped all the way to 92, so well below that target value would be. So we're in good shape looking for the time being for this one. The story's not quite the same on the other 2 that I'll go over, though, however. Serious injuries, first of all, we had been declining until 2022, and then it started trending upward. And yet, again, more information is in your packet. I did a summary document that goes through these numbers as well, but just kind of hitting the highlights here. So the issue, serious injuries, we keep trending upward. The preliminary number for 2025 is even higher than 2024 and well above what our target would be. So this is going to be a major challenge to meet these targets. So I don't know if I have a good explanation why the trends are different, fatalities and serious injuries. There is some aspect of a little bit of subjectivity on injuries. There's 3 different categories of injuries that could be designated with the crash. There's serious injury, a minor injury, and possible injury. So some of it may be up to the interpretation of on the crash scene, is this serious or minor, or what, exactly. And there's some definitions that they go by to help categorize that. But that's the only kind of thing I have to mention on that for now. Finally, the trend for the non-motorist. This is both fatalities and serious injuries. So these numbers are a subset of the two I just talked about for all crashes. This hones in on the non-motorist or vulnerable road user. So here we're tied down because we use 2023 as our base number to start the target reduction from. 2023 was the lowest value in the last several years. So if we project that 5% reduction out, our target's declining here. Unfortunately, we're seeing a huge increase. However, the last couple of years here, 73 in 2024, and the preliminary number for 2025 is 68. But I'll show how these are broken down. So again, this is both fatalities and serious injuries. For whatever reason, the fatality number is very, very steady, I would say, over the last 5 years, hovering around 15, 17, and then actually 2025 numbers has declined quite a bit. However, on the serious injury side, it's just a dramatic increase on the non-motorist side from 25 in 2023 up to 56, and then the preliminary number for last year is 57. So this is a heat map showing just the serious injury crashes from the last 2 years. Again, the 2025 is still preliminary, but I wanted to show those since these numbers are so much higher. You can see definitely these are concentrated where the highest activity of non-motorists would be in the central core of the Knoxville area. And as Jonah talked about with the information at your last meeting, we're seeing this on where we have conflicts between high-speed arterial traffic on roads like Broadway, Chapman Highway, Magnolia, with a lot of pedestrian and other non-motorized users. So that's where we need to kind of focus in on to try to bring these numbers down. We'll also say that for the first time, I've started to see some scooter numbers in these. I think there were 5 or 6 over the last couple of years of the electric scooters. I don't know whether they're rental or personal use, but people have speculated about how well are these going to mix with regular traffic. So another area to watch out. And of course, I'm sure City with their Vision Zero program are looking heavily into this area as well. One thing I wanted to, with the rate targets, we do have to look at vehicle miles traveled, which is a little bit of a challenge with the partial county areas. I won't go too much into this. This is also in that documentation a little bit. We use our travel demand model and to split out the counts. One thing I did want to focus on, though, is that TDOT has changed their methodology for how they estimate the VMT on local roads. The rest of the VMT is based on actual traffic counts, but they only put the counters out on the arterial collector, the major roads. So they've always estimated local road volumes. Starting last year, they've started to use the big data sources that give you an estimate of traffic volume on every single road in the network. And with that data, it's dramatically reduced the amount of local road VMT that they've estimated. I would personally kind of speculate that maybe they've gone a little too far in that direction, perhaps. I've highlighted the number for Knox County. Our total VMT for 2024 was a little over 15 million. You'll see that number is below the 2020 value, which was COVID year, where everybody, traffic had dropped by 20, 30% or more. It was obviously the lowest VMT we've seen in a number of years. Since COVID, it bounced back, the couple years after that. But now we're seeing, based on their new estimates, numbers below the 2020 value. It's really apparent in Knox County and also Sevier County. Some of the others not affected as much. But what this will do is this will affect those rate targets. We've always seen as fatalities increase, usually it trends at or below the amount of vehicle miles traveled increasing, so that rate number of fatalities and serious injuries typically goes down even when the actual numbers increase. This is going to maybe perhaps artificially, I would say, kind of make that rate number look higher than it should be. So this is just something we have to factor in and kind of look at as we're reviewing the target numbers is one of those things to keep in mind, I guess. So what I'd like to talk about, how do we address this issue? Again, it's hard to quantify specific project impact on the overall numbers, but we do need to obviously look at these, and this is an hopefully eye-opening way to review each year, what's going on out there and how well we're tracking versus our aspirational target. Obviously, we're looking somewhat okay on the fatality side, but not so much on the other two factors I talked about. But some of the initiatives going on with everybody's by now heard of the Federal Highway Safe Streets and Roads for All, SS4A. Several grants have been awarded in the region. The city of Knoxville has gotten a couple of implementation grants on projects that will be underway in the near future. But there's been also several planning grants issued. I've got summary here listed. With the last year's round, town of Louisville got some funding. University of Tennessee has gotten $237,000. Sevier County got an additional $1.3 million. This adds on to a previous plan that they've done. I think that's countywide. Am I correct? And it includes the cities and everything else. So with that, I think they're going to try to do some demonstration projects, some short-term type fixes and things like that with that money. So. And then TDOT, of course, has the highway safety improvement funding, and Troy's actually going to talk about some of those projects, I think. So I'll just kind of defer to that later in on the agenda. So finally, just summary here and the requested action we have. We assume that, again, we want to set local targets. We do have the option to support the state targets, but again, our staff recommendation is to continue this development of our local regional targets to track progress for the goals. There is no formal evaluation or consequences for not meeting these targets. And then starting next year, I think we can actually present to you an assessment of the targets once we get past that initial 5-year period to show you, how we're tracking against if we were actually evaluated by Federal Highway. So there is a resolution in your packet, and again, we're seeking recommendation of approval of that by the executive board. So any questions I can answer?
Thanks, Mike. Good work there. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the targets as presented?
Motion to accept.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second? Motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is a bylaws update that I think everyone has a copy of that in front of you. So, Mr. Doug, go right ahead.
All right. Yeah, like Jim said, you should have a copy of our bylaws in front of you. We have some minor changes to the bylaws, and as staff was going through that, over time, we've had some questions come up, and we're always like, whenever we want to revisit the bylaws, we probably ought to seek clarification on some of these things. So that's what we're here today. We will bring you some changes to the bylaws, and what our bylaws state about the bylaws is we need to present you a draft of the changes at one meeting, and then you will vote on them at the next meeting. But that's not what we're doing today. Today, we're just seeking some opinion, and then we'll take your input and draft the recommended changes and bring this to you next time, which will set in course the two meetings. So today, we're just seeking input. Some of the things we want to talk about is we have a membership population threshold, and issues come up with that, so we want to talk a little bit about that. Also about aligning our meeting frequency. The technical committee and executive board have different requirements on how often they should meet. Also, there's differences in officer terms. We'd like to align those. We want to talk a little bit about the technical committee membership, and then there's a couple other minor issues. Okay, so the first one, if you look in Article 2, composition, it states that, it's on the first page there, that the technical committee includes transportation service providers and governmental jurisdictions with a population of 5,000 or greater, according to the latest decennial U.S. Census. And a part of this, I'm going to have Mike jump in and out of this to help us, but the mayor of Roane County, Mayor Cresswell, reached out to us. I guess he had been talking to Mayor Frank, and she's like, hey, you should probably be more involved in the TPO. And so he had been on our website, and he saw this 5,000. He was asking, should Roane County be on the board or not be on the board? And Mike's going to kind of explain how we define our planning area and everything. But I think one of the issues is how do we count that 5,000? Do we allow jurisdictions to kind of double count? And I think Mike will explain it a little bit more, but that's kind of the pretext of why we're looking at this.
Okay. Yeah, so we talked to the mayor, and I showed him this chart here. There's a lot of numbers, and I'll just point out kind of what the summary is. On the left-hand side, you can see broken down by the 6 counties that are part of the TPO, what the total population in our planning area is. So you'll see this number here, 5,700 are in Roane County. So by that virtue, you might say, okay, they exceed the 5,000, so they should have a voting member on the TPO. But if you look at the breakdown of what comprises that 5,700 number, the red, I know it's hard to read here, the red numbers on this chart break it down by jurisdiction and counties. So these numbers comprise that 5,700. There's 1,133 in Roane County unincorporated. And then in the city of Oak Ridge is the bulk of it. And I have a map here that shows that. City of Oak Ridge is over 3,600 of that 5,700 number. And then there's a small part of Oliver Springs, which also lies in both Anderson and Roane County. So really, there's just 1,100 truly Roane County alone if you don't double count those other 2 jurisdictions. And this is the map. Of course, Oak Ridge has a gigantic city limit boundary that covers all of that DOE property. And then all the green area on here is the actual census urbanized area that we have to include in the TPO. But our policy has been if we touch a city, we take in that entire city limit in the TPO area. So that's one reason why our boundary stretches way out here. And then you can see the Oliver Springs portion. So really this white area here is the only portion of Roane County that's not already covered by those 2 cities, that 1,100 population. So should I go back to this?
Right. So he's not hard pressed. He's not like, hey, I absolutely have to be on the board. He's just like, hey, I was reading this and I just was kind of seeking clarification. And that's why we wanted to bring it to you about, we don't really specify. I mean, the people in the city of Oak Ridge are Roane County residents. They're in the Roane County. But I think this has been in here forever, and we were trying to rack our brain. We felt like our interpretation was you're not supposed to double count if the city of Oak Ridge residents go with the city of Oak Ridge, and they would need for Roane County to come in. They would need to have 5,000 of the unincorporated population. But we wanted to kind of see if anyone here had an opinion differently than that.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
And I've seen this in other MPOs, is why I bring up the question. So we have representatives from the East Tennessee Development District here. How I always viewed it when I was an MPO coordinator and as TPOt is that anybody who's not currently represented, like our under 5,000s, a lot of time will be served by our East Tennessee Development District, kind of an overarching member. Just my 2 cents on it, but that's kind of how I always looked at it.
Right, and he also mentioned he had a really good working relationship with the city of Oak Ridge. So, he said, I'm comfortable of also reaching out to them if I ever have issues. But
of course, everybody's welcome to come at least, address the boards and talk to us and let us know what's going on and ask for help. But that's just how we always did it in a lot of different places, and I've seen it other places. I've also seen it where we've got 3 smaller cities, and they send a county, and they send a representative to represent all 3. And that's kind of what we've got going on here with Oak Ridge and in the county at the same time. But again, just some of the things I've seen for the 5 MPOs out of Region 1.
Anybody else have a particular comment?
So you're asking us if there is a reason to change the interpretation?
Yes.
Is there not a standardized version at the federal level or the state level as to?
No, there's not a federal rule. We also checked with Memphis, Chattanooga, Nashville, and now Clarksville is considered a large MPO. Nashville has the 5,000 threshold for their executive board, but they don't have it for their technical committee. And Chattanooga and Memphis do not have a threshold, but they did tell us they wish they had a threshold because they have over like 40 members. In Chattanooga, there's lots of municipalities, some that are less than 1,000 people, and they don't have very good attendance. They've had to change their quorum number to I think Chattanooga is, as long as we have someone that shows up, they don't have a quorum number for tech committee because they just like, as long as someone shows up, we're ready to go.
And Roane County is represented in the Rural Planning Organization.
Yes. And if it continues to grow through the next decennial census, and that incorporated area was to go over 5,000, then by our bylaws they would be, brought in. So our staff recommendation is to leave it as our interpretation, is that you have to kind of have 5,000.
We would actually insert a statement in there to clarify that so that there's no gray area that what the 5,000 means. I think the 5,000 mostly meant for a municipal government. It wasn't really talking about county portions or things like that. So we would need to make that clarification. I think 5,000 is sort of arbitrary, but it does come from where the Census Bureau, that's kind of their cutoff, or what they call urban or rural, has to be a 5,000 cluster of population. So I think that's where the 5,000, we don't know for sure exactly where that number came from either, but. So.
And I was going to ask, but Catherine, so Roane County is part of an RPO?
Yes.
Okay, and then would this document notes that it's technical committee bylaws, would this also affect executive committee bylaws as well?
We have the exact same thing, and so I think this would be a case where we would go to the executive board, and as long as they agree, if they had a different interpretation, we would come back to you and say they felt strongly it should be a different way. But this exact statement is in both, but we would like to say, hey, the technical committee, this is what their opinion was. So, but if the executive board has it said, well, no, we think a little bit differently, we'll bring it back to you.
And can I add that the county is represented on the North RPO Executive Committee and the Technical Committee, and the bylaws do break it down by population, who gets representative in the cities, and then the smallest city represented. So they do have representation on the RPOs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good discussion there, Doug. So you think that you'll bring a summary to us next month, you're thinking?
Right, but I have a few more things here. But yeah,
okay.
As far as that one,
Okay.
If no one has any changes, we don't need necessarily a motion or anything. We'll just consider that our interpretation, and we'll wordsmith that out for you. The next thing we have is aligning our meetings. In the tech committee bylaws, it says the tech must meet at least bi-monthly, but in the executive board, it says they must meet at least quarterly. And there has been a couple times where we've been really light on an agenda, but we went ahead and had to have the tech committee meeting where we probably would have waited another month. Now, our intention is we probably would still have monthly meetings, especially when we're doing the year where we're doing mobility plan or the TIP. We're going to have very frequent meetings. But from time to time, there is a time where we might have waited one more month. So our recommendation is just aligning these to where it says we'll have quarterly. And what Nashville has, I put what they have on there is they have the technical committee will typically meet monthly, but no less than quarterly. So we were thinking some similar language like that.
That's good language.
Yeah. But it is once again, it's up to y'all about how we want to do that. So anyone have any particular opinion on that?
I would support what you just said. At least quarterly. Agreed.
Okay. Any other?
So on something like that, does it, and I was looking for it in here, does it say anything about special call meetings or anything like that?
I think there is something in here about we can have special called meetings. Don't remember exactly where it is, but
It's fine. I was just kind of curious on it because it's, quarterly's fine, and then or as required by the chairman or chairperson, something like that.
Okay.
Or your position, even the executive director, because that's one of those situations where we need TDOT's got tip amendments coming through, and they're big, and That's a lot of times, that's all we have to meet anyway. It's not a big deal, but definitely removing the bi-monthly requirement.
Okay, I think that's in here, but if not, we'll work on some wording with that. So last chance, any other comment on that? Okay, we'll move forward with changing it.
I think you guys do a good job of timing it out and are very respectful of our time. If we don't have anything pressing, you cancel the meeting. I think whatever you're doing currently works very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, this doesn't actually impact you, but since a lot of you are on the executive or representing on the executive board, we thought we would let you know. So in the tech committee, the current, as we just did, the current chair and vice chair, they're elected for a one-year term, but they can be elected twice. So technically you can do a 2-year term. In the executive board, we have the term is 2 years, and they also can do a 2-year term. So that puts them in for a possibility of 4 years. And we always get confused about this when every time we're like, okay, whose turn is it to be chair or vice chair? We were thinking to ask the executive board to align theirs with the tech committee where it's 1 year and they can do 2-year term. And that would also, a 4-year commitment. I know Mayor Frank did a 4-year term and she did a great job, but that's a lot to ask a mayor to do 4 straight years of chair. And we thought, that they might want to turn it over a little bit more. But ultimately this would be up to the executive board. We like what they have to say, but this is just more for your information. Like I said, that we'll be asking this of the executive board. But I guess if y'all have a strong opinion, we can take forward that also. It's just up to you.
Are the executive board members mostly elected officials from communities? So would they therefore rotate with elections?
Often they do. We may have that coming up. Mayor Jacobs, I think, will go out in August. And so that's one of the questions I do have on here is how do we do with partial terms? That's not specified in the board. We've had that on here happen occasionally. I think maybe one time Catherine left. You may have had a partial term. Wayne Blasey, if you remember, he did 1 year. Then we nominated him for the second year, and then Oak Ridge changed how they wanted to be representative. So he was not going to be on the board anymore. So then we had to vote a new chair in. But then we didn't know, okay, should that new person, should that count against them? Especially like if it's 6 months into a term, should that be their first term, or no, they still could do 2 more. So we thought we might want to specify in here that that a certain percentage of the term, if it's after 6 months, that doesn't count against them. But does anyone have an opinion on that? We can draft something up and put it in there. And like I said, y'all get 2 more shots at it, and you can kind of see how we write it out and see whether y'all think that's fine. That's okay with y'all. All right, this one's a little bit more into the weeds. In Article 2, once again, this is these bylaws have been around forever, so sometimes we don't remember exactly why we did this. But you can see at the top, we have very specific persons called out: the executive director of planning, the director of Knox County Engineering, the director of the city of Knoxville, the director of CAT. Then we just lump the rest of these cities and counties at 12 staff members. And then when you get down below, we have like the director of CAC, which is really Missy Goodwin, who I guess appoints Karen, who I think our intention down here was that it be the director of transit and ETHRA. We also have the director of ETHRA, who's Gary Holloway, but our intention was, it'd be Mike Patterson, the director. So we don't have in here who actually appoints these 12 staff members. And then we're going to talk a little about proxies, about how that works. But so we can put a statement in here that the mayor or the city manager would appoint these people, or we could also get very specific and name out an actual job position for each: Alcoa, Clinton, Farragut. So that's one question is, who appoints these 12 staff members? Do y'all have a particular opinion about how we should handle that?
Do you have a permanent proxy?
Well, that's a question we're going to get into. If these people are appointed by these persons, are they their proxies or are they their appointment? And if they're their proxy, can the proxy then have a proxy? We're getting down to like.
Does
So
Nashville call out the highest elected official or something?
The Nashville says the highest elected official will name the person to represent their jurisdiction.
We don't actually specify in ours who's appointing these people, so.
Well, in the way that's written, it looks like it could be, it doesn't say you have to have one from each area, just that you're gonna have 12 people from these places.
It says one each to be.
Did it? Yeah. Okay.
I would hesitate to name a staff position. I know in Oak Ridge, it was me, it was Wayne, it was interim guy, and now you. I think that should be up to the jurisdiction because they do have a new planner or planning director. And I think that's best left to the elected official to appoint whoever can serve them best.
Okay, I think that's kind of what we were recommending, that the principal elected official of that jurisdiction name the person for the tech committee.
Can I ask a question? So should it be because some of our local jurisdictions have different forms of government. So should it be the principal elected official, or, as Doug mentioned, a city manager who would appoint? That's a question for you all with the city manager form of government.
How do you state that, I guess? Would you say highest or principal, or what's the right wording to defer to whichever applies to that municipality?
I don't know off the top of my head. We could wordsmith it. We could wordsmith something though.
And again, I think it should be whoever is, like if the local government has a full term or strong mayor form of government as opposed to a city manager. If they do have a city manager, it's not a political issue. We've tried very hard to keep that out of it. So if there is a city management form of government, I think it should be the city manager. But if you've got a strong mayor form of government, which is what the counties are, it should fall to the mayor.
Technically, in Oak Ridge, the mayor does not direct staff.
Okay.
And I think that's the case with any city management form of government.
And I think you're right. The manager would, I think, have a better grasp on personnel.
Okay.
And it may be a county breakdown because all the counties have strong mayors. And I guess all the cities have city managers. I don't know if any.
Except city of Knoxville, but
That's right, yeah.
we could maybe group it, or we'll wordsmith it and try to see if we can come up with the right way to allocate that. And then while we're here, in the list of the 12 members, we have the Lakeway MPO. And I don't think Tina's here. We've already talked to her about this. I'll let Mike explain this a little bit more, but there's not quite the direct need to have them as a voting member. So we were wondering if we should keep them on.
So they joined, I guess, in 2004 when the entire area was designated non-tamer for ozone and overlapped with Lakeway, with Jefferson County. We were very strongly tied together that we had to quantify the emissions from that portion of the non-attainment area and do the conformity determination. Since that time, that standard kind of went away. It's hard to explain. There's still a requirement that we address it, but there's no longer a quantification or modeling aspect to that. We just have to basically document their projects in our conformity determination each time we do that. And then even that will run out in 2031 when the 20-year maintenance period expires. So we're not actually a voting member of their board. And so as staff, we feel like we don't know that they should be forced to come down here. It's a 1-hour drive each way for them to feel compelled to come here to serve as a voting member. And oftentimes they'll abstain on matters like when we used to vote on the TPOt project prioritization, they say we don't have a dog in that race or whatever. So we're not going to vote on your things like that. So a long time ago, before Oak Ridge became official member, they were serving as a non-voting member, and Catherine probably recalls that. And that could be an option if they still want to maintain presence here. But we don't feel really necessarily that it's appropriate that they vote on matters that they don't have jurisdiction over, essentially. So I've talked, or basically I tried to call Tina Whitaker, who's the current coordinator of LAMTO. We emailed back and forth. I couldn't get a hold of her on the phone, but she didn't express any, heartburn over this aspect. But it would be good if she was here to weigh in. We don't want to, kind of force her out necessarily, but just want to do what makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, we can always defer that and see if she can be at the next meeting or maybe, but it's up to you. If anyone has any strong opinion on it.
Yep, there's no tie with the air quality anymore, so.
Like I said, there is still sort of one. We have to align our plan update timeframe and do the conformity for the entire area. But the conformity is not the rigorous thing that we used to have to do with modeling and quantification of things. We just basically document their projects and say they've been accounted for. In fact, as you guys may recall, when we talked about the next model update visioning scenario, we've talked about actually splitting out Lakeway's model, and we may no longer include that area in our regional travel demand model. And in fact, they've started to move forward with the TDOT. TDOT's kind of offered to prepare a model for that area. I don't think it's officially gotten underway yet. But that's another aspect of this, is that we'll be severed even further if we don't actually model that portion.
I don't think it's ever caused a quorum issue.
She's usually attended. I think her attendance has been.
But it is not common for the other MPOs that I've seen in Region 1 to have the MPO coordinator sit on the other board, especially with the ones that are like all over top of each other in the Tri-Cities. They all talk and they work closely together, but they don't vote and sit on their boards. So just throwing that out there.
Anybody else have an opinion on that? So I guess, would everyone feel comfortable making her like a ex officio, or let's say if they want to attend, that's fine, but we're not you won't have a vote. And that's a little awkward, but.
I don't think it'll cause any heartburn across the board, personally, just working with them and working with us, but.
Okay, we'll draft that up and let you take a look at it. All right, okay, so kind of piggybacking on our earlier discussion about how people are appointed, then I guess we need to talk about proxies. Who names that proxies? Because I'm a little guilty of this, I'll pick on Karen as an example. Misty Goodwin names her to represent, but there's been times when we thought we were going to be really close on a quorum, and I'm like, she's on vacation, or I'm like, you got to send somebody. So she sends Nancy, which she does a really good job. So do y'all feel like you should be able to name the proxy, or should the mayor or the city manager say, like, I'm naming Jim, but if he can't attend, then it should be X? I don't know. We've gotten into some situations where we're getting like proxies of proxies, and we're like, yeah, is this really the best way to be doing this? We just like some uniformity of how the decision is made so we can keep it organized and everything.
I would think if it was just one meeting, it would be the person here would make a proxy, but if it was long term, it would need to be the mayor, government official. I mean, if I'm sick one day, I can send my assistant director.
Okay.
But that Jeff Hornby did that when he was playing director. He'd send me a few times. He couldn't come. But if it's long term, I think that would need to come from higher up.
When that happened, did the mayor know? I think the appointee should probably know who's their proxy is at that meeting, which really makes it complicated for me, just because I'm the proxy for people that I don't get to talk to. But that's just kind of a curiosity question for y'all. You know, if you're here for, if you're here for, you know, Mayor Jacobs or at his meeting, does he know that you're there for him because you're proxy for somebody else? Just, I don't know the legalities of it either. So it might be worth looking into Robert's rules on that, just to see what they say as well.
Any other opinions on that? We can go back and check Robert rules and kind of see what maybe what the other MPOs do.
I think James's take on it was, the KISS principle. Let's just keep it simple.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to overcomplicate things, but
yeah.
we do.
There was a couple of times I came to work on a Tuesday morning. He said, "You're going to Knoxville today." He had a meeting he couldn't miss.
Right.
So he told me the badge, and I drive to Knoxville. So, I mean, but if it's going to be longer, more than just one meeting, I mean, I think I might have come once or twice a year, or once a year. But if it's more than that, I think then whoever appointed the original position should be the one to get involved.
I guess, could one hybrid be when that first designation is made, that there's an alternate named on that at that point in time? And if so-and-so cannot, then it will be James Temple. And then, I mean, that scenario could be one option, but just throwing it out.
I assume in my case, the mayor would be who would appoint me.
Right.
And so did Larry send me a letter telling me to come? No, he didn't. Not that I'm aware of. I think I just was told to come. So, but
right.
Probably Jeff or maybe the vice mayor. I don't remember. That's been 4 years ago.
All right. Any other opinions? I'm not 100% sure we got. We'll go back and research the Robert Rules of Order and take what you said into consideration and look at what the other MPOs do and see. All right, so the last two here. This is currently in the bylaws, and we're not 100% sure where this one also came through. It might have been during COVID time or something, but it says that each of y'all have one vote, but if there needs to be, someone can give you a proxy for their vote. So you could have up to 2 votes. It's in the executive board bylaws also, so we may want to take our cue from whatever they decide. But it doesn't count against, for the way we interpret it, it would not count towards the quorum. You couldn't come here and say, I've got 2, so I count as 2 people. But if there was a vote, you could cast 2 votes but I've not seen this really in any other. I think it's kind of really awkward, and our recommendation is to eliminate it from the bylaws. We can't recall that it ever was actually used. Sometimes Jack Claus, he's not here, but he represents to City of Loudon, and
I think he's been for all 3 at some point down there.
But that's the only case I could think maybe that would apply because he represents. But like I said, we don't recollect anyone ever invoking this. So our recommendation is to eliminate it. And we can wait and see how, like I said, it's in the executive board. We can wait and see how they feel about it. But that's our recommendation. Go ahead.
So one thing I think it should be encouraged for someone to send a rep and take it seriously. If they are not sending anybody because the board allows that, then it's kind of I can see as a negative impact on the board. We're looking to have the body full of informed people who can carry information back and forth. By allowing that, especially if Jack's wearing 3 hats, I mean, that's not really fair to him either. And it's kind of a scapegoat situation because I know some of those jurisdictions largely participate and then maybe or should. And also if you've got no staff person here, but then the individual comes to the board meeting, where are they getting their information to vote on from the board for the board purposes? So I think that's a bad idea. I think each jurisdiction should care enough to send someone.
Like my best recollection is that maybe we added that in during COVID, and there might have been people out sick or whatever, and so we'll take that up to the executive board. But like I said, our staff recommendation is to eliminate that. And then this last one.
Can I add
Yeah,
something?
go ahead.
Just FYI, the RPOs do allow that
Okay.
with a letter. And sometimes that is last minute, that the county mayor or someone will say, I'm not coming, I'm appointing, as long as they have a letter, and we count that. So,
Okay. We might have got that from the RPOs when y'all were putting the RPO stuff together, so. But I think we still lean to eliminating it. But,
it's common, just so.
okay.
Every meeting, there's a few proxies, yeah, a few of those.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so we'll work on that also. Then the last one, we're not really fast stuck on this, but from time to time, and we actually can't give you a specific example. We know this has come up that as soon as we have a tech committee meeting, like Troy said, TDOT will call us and say, oh, we've got to get something into the tip. Or a long time ago, there were grants that TDOT did that they asked for the executive board endorsement. And someone would call us right after the tech committee and be like, we have to have this in order to get our grant submitted. So we didn't know if we could put something in there that would say, in very limited situations, we could take stuff directly to the board. And we would always tell the board, this didn't run through the tech. They could have the ability to send it back to you if they didn't like that. But I don't have that really wordsmithed out, but I didn't know if y'all will be like, y'all were like, okay, we're open to it. Let's see what y'all can draft up. Or no, we want to be sure everything comes through the tech committee.
I'll just throw out additionally here that, technical committees are not really spelled out anywhere in federal regulation. Obviously, it's a good idea to have this committee, but it's actually not universal across the state that MPOs even have a technical committee. I think Johnson City doesn't have one, and maybe Clarksville, a couple of others. They just, the actual decision-making authority is clearly with the executive board. They have the final, even if you guys don't recommend approval of something, they can obviously override that. So this would just allow us that flexibility, again, in very limited scenario, to call it out specifically that we could potentially go this route.
Like I said up there, we kind of feel like, anything that would be our local funding, LSTPG or anything that would not be, we would definitely want y'all to have a weigh in on that. This would be just some rare examples. I couldn't, somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt like one time we got called by TDOT about an industrial road project. And there was some kind of agreement with the company or something, and they're like, hey, we got to hurry and get this approved through. But I can't recall exactly where that was. I just remember it was one of those things like, well, we just had our technical committee meeting. So especially like if we were going quarterly, if like we have no other agenda items except this one thing, I guess do we have to get a meeting together to get that through? Would it be like a special called meeting? Right. Or is it something, in that case, it really didn't impact the local jurisdictions? We would just take it to the.
So this rolls into the tip stiff, all the, our public participation plans, that kind of thing. Craig, this is a Craig question. So if TDOT's bringing money in, okay, we're going to let this project, surely we know about this 3 months ahead of time, but if we have a hiccup and we want to add money to a project, that's the only thing that, I don't think anyone's going to say, no, we don't want any more money. Unless the executive board's like, no, we do not want this project, period. And they're going to be the one to do that anyway. There's already a really big threshold on what we can add, correct? Without an amendment? Because they're different for everybody.
Yeah, typically for TDOT projects, they're big ticket projects.
They're adjustments.
But things are relative to the size of the project a lot of times. So a lot of times it's going to be able to be done as a modification. Okay. And typically, if we did we're kind of thinking that maybe a TDOT situation could be the case, that we would bring an amendment. That would be the time that this would actually require a board action. Possibly this could fall into a situation where if TDOT needed to do an amendment for something and we didn't have other items, we might do that. I don't know that, that's we're kind of clarifying these exceptional situations so that we're not, if something comes up, I think the more typical thing would be that we would have a meeting And if we had a urgency situation, then could in writing have the ability to take it to the executive board for action.
Yeah, I wouldn't see any issues on something like that where they're adding money that doesn't meet the threshold as the state, on one of the state projects. But if they're changing the termini, anything whatsoever on that tip page is changing other than the funding part, because it's a letting thing. We're right at construction or we're right at right away, something, we need to throw some extra money at it. And it didn't meet the threshold. I mean, that would be really helpful. I know our project managers would definitely appreciate that. But past that, we're walking that fine line. We don't want to touch the terminize. We don't want to touch the scopes, any of that kind of stuff, because that really needs to come to this board and be hashed out before that. I mean, that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
Yeah,
but
I could add some. I think you bring up a good point, and that this would not allow us to usurp or whatever the other regulations that are in place. Like you referenced the public participation plan that sets out public comment periods. We also have air quality conformity a lot of times that come into play with a TIP amendment. So we couldn't shorten any of those time frames, skip steps in the process, so to speak. Those would trump any of this. So by that virtue, it would really only apply very limited scenarios, which again is hard to come up with a specific example right now. But
it'd be the endorsements. Hey, yeah, they're putting in for this multimodal grant. Do you all support this or not?
I know that's come up from time to time. I just can't, like I said, I can't recall the specifics, but we know we've had this conversation. We just had the tech committee. Can we just go ahead and take this forward? But once again, we can kind of wordsmith something up and let y'all take a look at it, and then y'all can kind of be like, no, yes. So I just wanted to be sure there was not an immediate no.
Flexibility of it.
Okay. I think that gets us through all of them. I know that was a long agenda item, but we really wanted your feedback before we got too far out on the ledge drafting some minutes, and y'all be like, well, this isn't really what we want to do. So we really appreciate your input on that.
Doug, there is one piece of legislation currently in that we're looking at, or I fell into it last night, talking about virtual meetings and if they can attend. It's an enabling right, I believe, to the locals if you want to have somebody off-site and be able to attend virtually.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. I don't know if it's going to pass or anything else, but I saw it. I thought that was very interesting. Because we're talking about meetings and voting. I'm kind of like where Catherine is. You need to be here. If it's important enough to represent it, you really need to be here. But if there is a massive extenuating circumstance, the mayors are all called to Nashville for something emergency. We got executive board. Just something to think about.
Okay, we'll track that legislation.
Yeah, and I'll see if I can find it for you as well.
That's all I had on my agenda item. So,
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with you, I'm more than happy to do this presentation, and I can keep it quick if you would like. And the executive board, Randy Bussler, who's actually he was going to give this presentation, but he's tied up today. But I can give this presentation, give you all some tools and places to find a few things, and help you all with the technical side. And then if you want to see the more in-depth presentation, you can watch the executive order or attend that one at the end of the month. Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
I know we're running short on time. We're usually looking at a thing, but I will quickly condense this presentation.
Well, thank you, Troy. And I appreciate Doug's work on that. It's good to always revisit some of those little details, so I appreciate the work on there. But yes, sir. Go right ahead, Troy. And this is item number 6 is TDOT Safety and Resurfacing Program Update.
All right, so I am not Randy Bussler, obviously. Randy Bussler, I believe y'all have met him before. Randy is in charge of what is called programs. Okay, so Epic has come through. We are doing things different. We are gone away from the waterfall type of project management, more into an agile type of project management. And the PDN has come through. You all have heard this many times, the different type of or what we're doing. So right now we have a project team that comes through. They push the whole way through the project. And we have a project manager here that works for this person, and all these other subject matter experts work for other people, but for the project manager at the same time. And the biggest part about this, and that's what this talks about, is streamlines the step and the procedures to help the project. Planning is involved every step of the way. They're not named, but we are in there. And we are involved with these projects. Basically what that means is, and I'll ask your all staff quite often, hey, do we have a sidewalk on this project? We're going to do this bridge. We have accelerated delivery. Is there anything planning wise that it does not support what we're trying to do? And then I will monitor that as it goes through and try to keep the scope from getting a little bit too messed up. Or, well, do we really need that? Well, yeah, it's in their plan. We need their permission before we take that kind of stuff out. Project manager has multiple programs, but you have the resurfacing, SIA, safety, and this is just on this one particular side. These people are in-house at the region, and then we have our big projects. So, and I want to say big projects. I guess it's all relatively, relative. But with our structures, our roadway, our pavement, that's all under Randy. So this is the flow chart on how this all works. And again, I'm going to buzz through this. If you want more information, I'm more than happy to assist you with that later. Every color is a different group. The one thing I really want to point out that makes this different are those little red circles down here at the bottom. Towards the bottom, those are quality checks. We have independent designers within our region that used to do other things. They quality check everything that's coming through. It doesn't matter if it's a sidewalk project or if it's a resurfacing project or if it's a bridge. We have people that's all they do. They go through specifically and quality check our other people to make sure that everything's being met right. So they're doing it kind of in a vacuum. They're not involved as part of the planning process. So we're trying to get this right the first time. So what I'm going to do at this point is go through where you can find a few of these things. This website or these links are live. If you go through here, that's the link to go to that page. You can go in specific in each one of these, and if you click on that, you can. And if you'll click on that image real quick, it'll bring it up. You can try it. If it messes it up, I'll be done. But just click on the map. If you get this presentation, you can click on that. It'll take you through and it'll take you specific to your projects. So what I wanted to point out on this is on the left-hand side, you have this information. If you'll scroll down, this is the really good part about this. I went to this meeting. I can't quite remember what we talked about at this meeting. Well, all the notes are here. There's the public information. Okay, stop. At the top there, it has the updated project displays. Everything's there that we took to these meetings. So if you went to the meeting, you can't remember, you're going to a planning commission meeting, it's all right there. You have resources there to support and help educate your folks as well. All right. Great tool. We use it a lot. So for project management, we have two major projects now, and it's referred to as programs and highway. Programs, our highway is John Barrett. So those are our massive project. We have also referred those as legislative projects. Those are under him. Randy got blessed with everything else. And there's actually one that's not listed here, but we have bridge and bridge repair as well. We have all our safety projects, or our spot safety projects are running through Randy and his group. All resurfacing, which is what Randy did before, unstable slope, and state industrial access. There's one more called other. It's our miscellaneous one. So if we are assisting a smaller jurisdiction with a multimodal grant or the interstate lighting interchange, those are under our other programs. It's a pretty short list, but it didn't quite fit in anything else, so they threw it into that one. I'm going to give a couple little updates on a few things, but I attend the meetings, and I'm missing one today, but I attend all these meetings with Randy now. The reason I do that is because I'm out here representing our MPOs and trying to get information for you all. So if you have a question, say, what's going on with my bridge out here at this location? I've got the spreadsheet, I can pull it up, and if you call the project manager, they're going to give you the same information. Most likely it's going to be very close. You're more than welcome to call Randy and them about it. Not a problem. But at the same time, if I'm here, I've got it on my computer, I can pull a spreadsheet up and say, okay, well, that one's going to letting at this time. Here's what we're looking at. Or we have an issue. Here's what it is. Then you can dig into it a little bit more. So this is our bridge program page. the 3-year on-system and 3-year off-system bridges. The on-system are TDOT bridges, the ones we maintain. Off-system are the ones that we do not maintain. They are responsibility of the local jurisdiction, but there are funds typically that kind of go along with that, especially for the counties. On the right-hand side of that, you see the highway program. Like I said, that one's John's. Everything else is Randy, which is the pavement program, bridge, economic development, which is our SIA, unstable slope. If you click on any of those, except for the SIA projects, you're going to be able to see what the 3 years look like and what we're doing with those. What phase is it in 2025 or 26, 27, 28? Is it going to construction right away or is it going to PE? Unstable slope program, same information. There's more information below there. So the project managers are actually listed for every one of these, but they're kind of flexible in how we're doing things right now with staffing. So some of our staff is actually working on bridge that's really in charge of safety or one of the other programs as well, but they're all pointed together to make sure that we get these done on time. And the biggest part is keeping them on time and on scope, which helps us keep it on or under budget. Unstable slope, we've got one, I think on Pellissippi Parkway, we were just looking at, they, for the new side, making sure that we're not having these massive issues that are closing our roads. This is the miscellaneous one I was talking about. That's everything else that didn't fit. And again, all these links at the bottom are live when you get this presentation if you want to look at them. But if you just Google or search TDOT 3-year plan safety projects, it will get you here. The safety programs, same thing. You can click on the link. It'll go through and talk to you about it. And our resurfacing or our pavement program. Now, we are doing pavement a little bit different. I want you to notice this. And this, everyone in here, you're hearing about potholes right now, and everyone wants to know when the road's going to be paved. The information's in here. Well, how do we decide what we're going to pave? Well, that's that first little link right there. It says pavement process. It's changed a little bit. Before, Randy was in charge of the resurfacing. He would ride every single route. He would work through it. They are much more data-driven now. And Randy can answer more of those very specific questions. But we do, similar to what some of y'all did on the LiDAR, shooting the roads, getting the data. We use a lot of that information. They're using that to come up with this and working with the district managers or what Kristen Quall's position was at District 18. Every district has an engineer that runs it. They work with them specifically and prioritize projects. Most of that's being done in Nashville. Then it works back and forth. The SOP is in there as well. If you're interested in resurfacing, I would highly encourage you to go to this page and dig into those. They also have sample plans there as well for y'all. If you ever need cross sections, anything like that for plans, specific information, it's here. You can reach out to me. I'll get you. I can still get you to the right spots. This is the project selection, what I was talking about under that. But it has, you can see exactly what they're looking at with all the specific technical data. And so this is where Randy was going to come in and talk much more specific about your projects. This is what the project pages look like when you go into them. I did sort this and got rid of everything else that was not out of Region 1. But you can see the SS are spot safety projects. That is over here by the project manager's names. And the VRUs, those are vulnerable road user projects. The rest of the ones that are blank, I'm not sure. I can't answer that for you. But you can see you can kind of see the progression of these. You see which ones are coming in 2026. This Anderson County State Route 61, Sinking Springs for a spot safety. That's going to construction in 26. It's doing everything. It's all funded for 26. And when we say federal 26, that is October 25 moving forward. Just so everyone else is aware if you're new. Everything operates on the federal. But all this information is out there. You can see who the project managers are. If you want to reach out to them, I would encourage you just to reach out to Randy to get a better idea of if you have technical questions on these. And this is the resurfacing one. And I zoomed out and took a little bit big picture of this, because I wanted you to notice the date in the bottom left, which y'all can't read, but that was like January 28th this year. That is a fresh new list. The other highlighted section there is subject to change. If it's in this list, chances are it's getting done. Subject to change is we ran into a problem. Anyone's ever worked with a railroad knows that sometimes you have hiccups. That is one of the things that really causes hiccups with our resurfacing program because we can't get typically within 300 feet of that without agreements. Most of those are in place. For the ones that aren't, they're there. Sometimes it'll be pushed back, put into the next system or to the next round. The other one is the one over there. I believe this is 39 pages long. Okay, you all will, your all's mayors will be receiving some correspondence from us. It'll be coming from the planning division. We try to send that to the public works directors as well and the technical folks. We try to send them to all the utilities on the resurfacing plans. So this is the resurfacing plan. This is where you find it. This is what we're doing in your community. I can't remember if we copied the MPOs on all these before or not. We can. It's a lot of letters. But it's just letting you know what we're working on. And the biggest part of that is make sure your utilities know. If you got a sidewalk project, try to get it done. If you've got a pipe going in, let's get that taken care of before so we don't mess up the pretty asphalt as we come down through there and cause those problems. If you know, as a public works director, that you have a tile or you've got issues on a road that you're going to be replacing and it conflicts with that, let us know. We can move that out to the next year to let you get your jobs done. And then come back in and do the resurfacing and we'll make it all work because these roads will last, easily 15 years as long as they're somewhat maintained and the subsurface is in good shape. But that was the very abbreviated version. This is all Randy's contact information. He's out here at the region. Every day he's there unless he's running around with me or one of the mayors. But do you all have any questions that I can answer overarching about the projects? Great, y'all are good. But on a serious note, though, if there's anything that we can do to help you with this information, grab it. If you want the links, let us know. Staff has this. Yes, sir.
Troy, did you say that Randy would be here for the executive board?
Right now, Randy was planning on being here for this one. He couldn't. He should be here to present for the executive board. Yes, sir. And if you have more specific questions on any of those, you could probably ask him at that point or catch him after the meeting. As far as TPOt updates, while I'm here, don't have a lot of TPOt updates. Same with Federal Highway. Right now, we're working with Federal Highway. We don't have planners in Tennessee. We are working with West Virginia planners that are helping us with oversight. They did not have any specific updates to provide at this meeting. They might be online, though. They've been pretty good about attending. And TDOT's the same way. Our planning grants are still out there. That's the question I'm getting from everybody. Where's our planning grants? What are we going to find out about it? Right now, currently, those have been moving up the chain and still do not have, and I apologize, but I do not have an update for you on when you're going to hear about those. I don't know how much longer. We're getting close to the top on getting those approved, but that did go through with our legislative group. He took a look at that, and I believe it was going towards the commissioner is the last thing that I heard on that. So we'll keep our fingers crossed we hear something soon on that. But past that, I don't have any. Yes, sir.
What about statewide partnership? Same?
Same. That one, after the budget passes, that's when all that's going to come together. They're asking, we're getting some more questions from headquarters about projects and a few things. So I think we're getting pretty close on the statewide partnership program. But that will be the same. It will come out probably April-ish, depending on when they pass the budget and when that all goes through. Once it's finalized, and that's when we'll know that answer.
I'll just throw out, the Governor Lee at the State of the State threw out a budget. I think it was 400 and some odd million for transportation above and beyond the normal allocation. But I don't know if it's showing any specifics as to what that goes toward, any project specific. If you know, it'd be good to find out. But
I don't know the specifics on where they're looking at that because they did mention rest areas and welcome centers. Getting those up to par. We've got rest areas that have been in tips for a while. And they're throwing money at that, trying to get those up and fixed. Because a lot of these rural ones, we have issues with sewer and sewer connections, and that makes it very difficult. But nothing specific to to Knoxville as far as rest areas or yard waste stations or anything like that. But I did touch base with our consultant on our 40-75 plan, and they're looking at another series of meetings coming up probably in the April-ish timeframe as well. And that should be this is what we came up with. Let's get together and talk about it. Kind of like the last series that was gathering data. So hurry up and wait. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I was going to just say while Troy's there, it's kind of a question for Craig and for Troy, and it affects the city of Maryville and probably some other jurisdictions too. Now that the new TIP is in effect, several of our agreements and our contracts with TDOT on our projects now are in a position where they need to be revised. Either the dollar amounts have changed or the funding sources have changed or the times or the schedules have changed. And it seems like it's a good opportunity, Craig, to get us current. And I don't know if there's an approach to do it. Either we do them individually, project by project, or maybe as a batch altogether. So I just wanted to ask the question, what maybe you had a preference since you have to coordinate that with local programs.
Yep. So the new TIP, not in effect yet, will not be in effect until April-ish. That's where we are with that. We're still waiting on that. Changes on those, you would be able to begin to have those conversations. Each of our local agencies could be in conversation with local programs about any updates that would be necessary there. They will not be able to execute contract amendments until that new TIP is in effect. But we can start kind of laying the groundwork for that. If that is something, we would normally be the next round of project meetings with TDOT would be after this current quarter ends. I have been kind of mulling around the idea, and this is actually a good opportunity to see many of you get your take on that. I may reach out to Kristen and see if there would be an interest from the locals to move that one up and have it now kind of during this quarter to kind of set the ground for being ready to be up and running for once that new TIP is active, but we don't anticipate that until April. So can I get a thumbs up or a yay, nay on whether that sounds like a good plan? So that's been on my, okay. That's where we are on that.
Thank Troy. Last item, not the next to last item, is other business. And it looks like we have executive board meeting on Wednesday, February the 25th at 9 a.m. in this room. And then the follow-up, our next meeting for the TPO Technical Committee will be March the 10th at 9 o'clock in the same room as well. Item number 9 is public forum. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to address the board virtually, potentially? No? So, Doug, do you have something? Yeah? Okay. Well, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.